Hello, I'm Wayne from Talk Cars. I'm going to have a look at Volkswagen Tuning now. Volkswagens are popular cars. They're the parent company over the Volkswagen Audi group, so they cover quite a few different car brands, including Seat, Skoda and Audi. And the nice thing is that a lot of the components between these brands are modular and you can swap them over. So you can use Audi RS brakes on your Volkswagen Golf, for example. So if you're looking to upgrade your Volkswagen, look at the full range that the VAG group make and see if you can source parts from those other models. Very often the parts are just completely interchangeable. With brakes, you obviously need to look at the hub sizes and the clearance you've got within the alloy wheels. We've seen people put in large Porsche brakes inside a Volkswagen Golf and really dramatically increasing the braking. But bear in mind there are practical limits when you do mods like that. The grip on your tyre has a big bearing on how effective the brakes are, so you will get more feel from a bigger disc, but at a certain point you won't really notice a benefit in the real world. So as the cars are modular, it's not just the brakes that you can swap around, it's the engines as well. Each generation of Volkswagen or Audi tend to use the same platform and the same range of engines. There's very often slight differences in the way the engines are set up. For example, there might be a 2-litre engine at 2 power levels. 150 and 170 seem to be fairly common, and the main differences between them tend to be the turbocharger and the map. So just swapping out the turbocharger and altering the map can actually lift the performance of a fairly small engine to a much larger one. You've got the 109 horsepower diesels, and you can take them up to 170 horsepower, but you need to do quite a lot more to them. You'll need to strengthen the head bolts, the injectors won't be up to the job, and you need to get the turbo changed. But as long as you address all of that and swap the components in that you need to support it, there's no reason why you can't increase the power of a low-end diesel to match that of the much higher powered diesels. So in terms of alloy wheels, that's probably one of the most common modifications that people do to their Volkswagens. We would really urge you not to go too large with your alloy wheels. They look nice, they fill the arches nicely, but you will get tram lining and all sorts of other problems. The extra weight of a large alloy wheel really deteriorates the handling. You're adding a lot of unsprung weight to each corner of the car, so it's not surprising that you're going to start to experience a degradation in the car's handling and performance. So we would recommend that you stick to about a 17 or 18 inch wheel if you can. The suspension also varies. Now you do need to get the suspension set up to match the engine weight and the weight of the car. If your suspension is too hard or too soft, you're going to degrade the performance. But in the main, across the VAG group, so Volkswagens, Seat, Skodas and Audis, most of the parts can be easily swapped around, and you can often just bolt on parts from bigger models to get a better performance enhancement on your car. So there's quite a few different engines in the Volkswagen group stable, and again, like the other parts, a lot of these engines can just be swapped and bolted. Now some engines are transverse and some are longitudinal, so that really depends on how they connect to the car. The smaller cars tend to have a transversely mounted engine, so it's mounted side on and the power is taken down to the front wheels. If it's longitudinally mounted, you tend to get that in the longer bonneted cars, and those engines are set up to be mounted long ways, and that really is the only difference between the models in the range. So as long as you get an engine that's got the correct orientation, you can usually just bolt it in, and it's often just a matter of doing the plumbing, and sometimes the sensors need to be swapped out as well. But you can get some really good power upgrades just by dropping a different engine. So engine swaps really are a really nice way of upping the power very, very easily, and it just helps to know the different types of engines. Now every model revision that comes out tends to improve on the previous ones, and often when a new engine range or engine model is introduced, there will be inherent weak spots and problem areas with those early versions, and as the line progresses they're engineered out. So knowing where those weak spots are can actually save you a lot of heartache and problems. So in terms of the internal components in the engine, some of the engines actually come with very strong forged components and they can handle massive power gains. The old 1.8T engine from Volkswagen was a fantastic unit, It tended to come with about 150 brake horsepower. Some of the performance variants took that up to 200, 225, but most tuners can actually get about 350 brake horsepower from that standard block because it is so strong. If you check out the articles on our site, you'll actually see which blocks have the strong components and can handle those big power figures. But being able to double the power of an engine without having to change the internal components, it's a significant win in my book, and certainly something I would recommend thinking about doing. Servicing is important. You must use the correct grade of oil as well. We've heard of sludge buildup where incorrect oil has been used, particularly with the turbo engines, and that can cause catastrophic turbo failure. And some of the models come with long life service schedules. We wouldn't really recommend keeping your oil in the car for 24,000 miles or 2 years, although on paper it seems to be able to do that. In real life, where you're doing lots of short journeys and you're putting the car through all sorts of different conditions, it makes sense in my book to change the oil annually. And when you strip down an engine that's had regular oil changes, you'll see very little engine wear, which is a testament to how the engine oil protects the engine over the lifespan of the car. Problems and pitfalls to look out for is often down to carbon buildup. The direct injection engines, diesels and petrols, and the exhaust gas recirculation system tend to deposit a lot of carbon on the intake on the valves, and that will necessitate a clean. It's a bigger problem with the large capacity engines. It depends so much on how you use the car, and whether you do lots of short journeys or you really do give it a good thrashing and burnout. We hope this video has been useful to you. Please visit our site, look up the many articles, and I really do welcome your feedback and comments. By sharing the knowledge that we have as a community, we can actually grow the knowledge, and people can enjoy better performance from their car by avoiding the common mistakes that a lot of people make when they're tuning and upgrade. So if you haven't subscribed already, please do so. We've got lots more articles planned. We're going to go into specific models. We know a lot of people are interested in particular specific tips on what mods they can do to their car. And don't forget, if you've not subscribed, please do so. Please like this video. It really does help us to get out there. And don't forget to stay tuned.